hard because he's tricking you, because he's duping you, because the thing that is so obvious, and that thing is that he is grifting you. They don't want to accept that. They cannot even entertain that possibility. And so they just have to do all this other stuff on the side. So it shouldn't be this hard.
It's just, it's amazing how driven Donald Trump is by the rage that his followers still have a single cent to their name. And he will not rest until they don't, until he's taken every single dollar.
Should be his money. That's his money, right? They support him, give him all of your money.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Yaz, not only for doing the show, but for stepping in on short notice. I really appreciate it. Always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And yeah, big week of shows ready. We're gonna be releasing some clips on Juneteenth. We won't be doing a live show. We'll be observing the holiday, but we'll be here tomorrow, be here on Wednesday and on Friday, and we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you, everyone. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Ritchie. We got a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than my brother from another mother. We have Jackson White, always fascinating to have his analysis. Top story of the day. Sheriff, state of Georgia, being sued because his deputy killed a black motorist in a car crash. Now, put up the picture full mass. I'm going to give you a story. It will make your blood boil. Georgia sheriff faces a lawsuit after his speeding deputy crashed into a black motorist who died. The widow of a black male who died after an early morning collision with a deputy sheriff who was allegedly speeding on a rural Georgia highway is suing the county sheriff for negligence and wrongful death. Dashcam video from Meriwether County Deputy Sheriff Norman Sickfing patrol car shows it was still dark. It was around 6:09 a.m., April 2nd, 2024. When he crossed over a bridge, and as he's crossing over the bridge, he smashed into the vehicle of Mr. Roland Moreland. Mr. Moreland was turning left at a busy intersection on State Highway 85 in Sonoya, Georgia. The deputy was traveling 67 miles per hour, 12 miles per hour over the posted speed limit of 55 at the moment of impact, according to the lawsuit filed in the county state court June 10th. That was obtained by Atlanta Black Star. The complaint says he was not using his emergency lights or responding to an emergency call. Mr. Moreland, 61, who was on his way to work, sustained severe bodily injuries from the crash and died 3 days later. He died at Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta, trauma unit. Harry Daniels, a good friend, no stranger to indisputable, an attorney at law. Harry Daniels, the attorney representing the plaintiff, Mr. Moreland, told Atlanta Black Star his cause of death was blunt force trauma from a vehicular accident. There's more. Daniel said the deputy suffered minor injuries and was not cited by the Fayette County Sheriff's Office, who responded to the accident. Mr. Moreland was charged with failure to yield while turning left, which seems to match the dash cam video. The sheriff, quote, was speeding and they knew it, Attorney Daniel said, but they did not cite him. So already what do we have? We have an individual, at least based on the scene of the accident, an individual is severely hurt, okay? You have one person obviously speeding. That individual is not cited. Usually, speeding is going to be an offense cited if there's an accident that comes from it, no matter what. He gets no citation. This creates an effect that Attorney Harry Daniels, he has to now overcome this effect because of the corrupt way in which the report was filed. Now, why do you think everyone ignored the fact that the cop was speeding? Well, because he's a cop. There's more. The lawsuit claims that the deputy was exceeding the speed limit by at least 20 miles per hour in the moments before the accident, as he crossed over a narrow bridge where the posted speed limit there, that narrow bridge, is 45. It accuses the deputy of driving in reckless disregard of safety of others and failing to drive at a reasonable and prudent speed. Quote, this is about as clear a cut case of police recklessness and neglect as I've ever seen, Daniel said in a statement. Quote, this deputy wasn't responding to some emergency. He was speeding and driving recklessly, accelerating into a busy intersection without any lights on, and he killed a good man as a result. Law enforcement officers are supposed to be making our streets safer, not deadlier. So let's put him up full mass, the sheriff. So the deputy involved is not named as a defendant. I will explain that in a moment. He's not named as a defendant in the lawsuit, which is actually filed against his boss. The boss, the sheriff, is the Meriwether County Sheriff Chuck Smith. The deputy in Georgia is protected by qualified immunity for law enforcement officers acting in their official capacity, okay? So he's on duty. He's acting in his official capacity. The state of Georgia has a law. You have a qualified immunity dynamic here, but Smith is vicariously liable for the negligent and reckless act of said deputy. I will explain. So the lawsuit seeks a jury trial to determine compensatory and special damages to recompense Mr. Moreland, the family, for the loss of the husband, including pain and suffering, loss of consortium, funeral and burial expenses, and future earnings. Mr. Ronald Moreland was the sole breadwinner in the family, Daniel said, and he and the wife, Mrs. Moreland, were acting as the primary caretakers of their grandchildren. This is all calculated future dynamics. And so let's put the sheriff back up again. The state of Georgia has some strange laws, and this is one of them. while the deputy under the current statute of Georgia is clearly protected by qualified immunity, even though he did act reckless, the law, however, does not protect said entity or agency that the law enforcement officer worked for. The enforcement agency itself does not have qualified immunity, which means Harry Daniels, the civil rights attorney, in order to get justice on the Georgia statute, has to file the suit against the sheriff, who is the constitutional elected officer of the sheriff's department, in order to make a case of vicarious liability to seek justice for the family. It's a damn shame. And obviously, if this was cited properly in the beginning, you may have some other liability dynamics that Attorney Harry Daniels did not have to unravel. But due to the citation, basically blaming the man who died and not citing the person speeding, due to that citation, it creates a legal dynamic that has to be overcome in the filing as well. And this is why reports are important. All right. Dear brother, thoughts here?
Well, I mean, it seems to me like the only real defense it sums up to the idea that this police officer had the right to be speeding because the laws don't apply to him because of the position that he's in. And if the defense were to win that, or at least if they don't settle with the family or something like that, then it just very loudly screams to the public that this police department is not concerned with the safety of the community at all. Especially if they don't at least find some way to settle or show that, hey, we're aware of what was done. Because at the end of the day, you going, well, what was it, 12 miles over the speed limit anywhere, you liable to get a ticket. And especially if there's an accident, then, if it's a law enforcement officer or just a regular person, that type of situation is ripe for punitive consequences. So, there's just really not a strong defense for this whatsoever. And obviously, it would overall be in the police department's best interest to, do what they can to show repentance and to take accountability. But, they get away with things quite often. So we'll see what happens.
Yep. And that's the reason why individuals have an us and them mentality as it relates to community and cop. All right. Well, MAGA supporter, a man who decided to shoot 2 Minnesota lawmakers, has been arrested for murder. Put it up full mass. There was a 2-day manhunt that rattled Minnesota. It came to an end yesterday evening, ending with the arrest of 57-year-old Vance Bolter. Here are the details. The investigators have pursued the suspect, identified as Vance Bolter, 57, throughout the weekend as Minnesotans reeled from the killings of Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark Hortman. In a separate attack, the gunman also wounded State Senator John H. Hoffman and his wife, Yvette Hoffman, at their home in the Minneapolis suburbs. Let's put his picture back up again. That is an actual criminal. That is a violent thug. That is a dangerous human being. That is your deplorable. That is, in fact, the worst amongst us. That right there. That's what it is. Donald Trump is not going to ship him anywhere. Trump is not going to wax poetic about how horrible this human being is. No. Those who Trump appointed to carry out our constitutional laws and protect our constitutional rights will not echo that either. The complaint against Bolter describes police officers arriving to the home of State Representative Melissa Hortman as seeing Bolter shoot her husband, Mark, through an open door. The police then exchanged gunfire with him, and he ran into the home before escaping. At some point, He also fatally shot Representative Hortman. That's interesting, isn't it? After what officials called the largest manhunt in state's history, investigators arrested him on Sunday near Green Isle, a small town about an hour southwest of Minneapolis, where he had a home with his wife and children. For much of Sunday, tactical teams had conducted searches in the area, where investigators found a vehicle and a hat that they believe belonged to the suspect. After one officer thought he saw Mr. Bolter running into the woods, the police converged on the area, found him in a field near his home. We would call this a terrorist attack if his last name would have been Muhammad. A terrorist attack is an attack utilizing violence in order to affect a political outcome. That's what terrorism is. Why is this not terrorism? Why don't the headlines say terrorist? Well, because he's a white male. I mean, MAGA would not stand for that. Yeah, this is a terrorist. This is a terrorist who decided to utilize violence in order to affect political change by actually shooting at and successfully killing a public official. Officials say the suspect was armed when he was arrested, but that no force was used in the arrest. Did you hear what I just said? Officials said that the suspect was in fact armed when he was arrested, but that no force was used in the arrest. He's still alive. He had a shootout with the police. He ran, shot more, apprehended near his home, was armed. No force needed, still alive. I'm not saying he should be dead. What I'm saying is that a whole lot of people should be alive. The gunman had impersonated a police officer during the attacks. How did he do this? By wearing a rubber mask and a bogus badge, according to the officials. He had a notebook that mentioned the names of about 70 potential targets that included both of the lawmakers. Officials said he had fired at officers responding to one of the homes before escaping. The wife of Vance Bolter, who is suspected in the Minnesota lawmaker shootings, was in a vehicle that was pulled over by law enforcement on Saturday. Passports and cash were found in the vehicle. The victims, put them up. Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman, her husband, and her husband were killed in the politically motivated shootings early Saturday. This is according to Governor Tim Walz. Hortman had served as House Speaker for 6 years. When the 2024 elections cost Democrats their slim majority, she led fellow Democrats boycotting House sessions for almost a month, starting in mid-January, to prevent the GOP from using a temporary vacancy in the Democratic seat to cement control over the chamber, forcing Republicans into a power share. Another prominent area lawmaker, Senator John Hoffman, was shot and wounded alongside his wife in their home about 15 minutes away. We have footage of Bolter giving a sermon in 2021 at the DRC. Here it is.
And I'm just as excited about Jesus.
Et je suis juste excité
right
de
here,
Jésus.
right now.
Jusqu'à présent, même maintenant.
And when I get excited,
Et quand je suis excité,
I want to dance.
je veux danser.
And what Jesus did for me.
Ce que Jésus a fait pour moi.
Jesus is God.
Jésus est
Almighty
Dieu.
God.
C'est le Dieu
He
puissant.
saved my life.
Il a sauvé ma vie.
I'm excited about God.
Je suis excité de Dieu.
And I want to worship Him.
You're starting to get the picture. If anybody wants to argue this is not a cult, that individuals have not been radicalized, that these folks are not carrying out acts of domestic terrorism, your argument has no weight anymore. people who decided to serve their community filed their intent to run. Like them or not, they got elected by people. We still live in a representative form of government. Somebody decided to not only take away that human being from a family, somebody decided to take their voice away from democracy. And that's antithetical to what we understand as normative in this nation, even though we are here. He allegedly had many more names on his hit list. The suspect arrested in the murder of Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband reportedly left a chilling hit list of potential targets that included Senator Amy Klobuchar, Representative Omar, and the offices of multiple abortion providers. He also left a handwritten list described by police as roughly 2 pages long and containing 60 to 70 names. That's according to the Minnesota Star Tribune. This list was not alphabetized and included addresses, some targets. Representative Kelly Morrison, Democrat, as well as other members of the Democratic Farmer Labor Delegation, were among those identified. Authorities have downplayed earlier descriptions of a list as a manifesto. Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Superintendent Drew Evans clarified it was not a sweeping ideological document, but rather a notebook of a lot of lawmakers and others, as opposed to an actual document, which I don't see the difference. His roommate describes him as a Trump supporter, for those who are wondering why we call him MAGA supporter. Here it is.
Can you talk about his politics a little bit? I know that you had some discussions. I just wanted to talk about it.
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. So, but he, because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz, it wasn't to serve. He was just serving the community. But he. I can't believe a political issue would cause him to do such things.
All right, Jackson, thoughts here.
So, there's just so much to take from this whole incident. First and foremost, as you pointed out, I mean, there's no effective way to pretend like this is not a nationwide cult going on, because I mean, put yourself in this man's shoes. In order for you to make this hit list and go through all this detailed, intricate, slow grind planning to make it happen, how committed you are to the plot, how much of a true believer you are. Like, you really think that this is gonna set us right. This is gonna get us back on the track that God always had destined and ordained for the American people. And we're gonna get our country back and we're gonna get it back. Like, these people really believe this type of stuff. But, at the end of the day, one of Trump's biggest issues, America's issue at large, but Trump in particular, is I've been saying this for quite some time. I still think he's going to end up the ultimate scapegoat for everything that's getting ready to transpire. I mean, like, at the end of the day, what has he done for any of us lately? This man has, him and Elon gone after programs like Meals on Wheels. Among everything else in the administrative state that just generally gives the public some stability and some access to climb the social ladder or just stay above water if they can. The tariffs, as you pointed out in the last show I was on, the tariffs that he's got going, eventually that's going to crash the economy. We're almost certainly about to go to war with Iran because Israel is. So because Israel's going to war with Iran, America's going to war with them. And we've been wanting to go to war with Iran for as long as I've been alive, at least. So that's going to cause worldwide economic issues. So, it's like they're doing all this chaotic craziness is going on for a game show host who's really just destroying the country at the end of the day. And it's unfortunate, but it's real life.
It's real life. And that's why we have to stay on top of it and report it. We bring you updates as they come. All right, well, we finally got one, a real police chief. This chief is so real. He has said, listen, I'm going to protect protesters in this community, which means, well, he may actually go to prison for doing so, but he would do it. Go to it.
As I watch the actions taken by federal law enforcement in California and along the West Coast, I am reminded of why I became a police officer. It is my job to support the rights of our community. Let me be clear. The Seattle Police Department does not engage in immigration enforcement activities. We do not inquire into or collect information about an individual's immigration or citizenship status unless it is directly connected to a state or local criminal investigation. The Seattle Police Department supports everyone's right to peacefully protest. Anyone in Seattle, from anyone who comes to this city with the intention to hurt them or inhibit their First Amendment rights. And what that means is, at some point, I will probably go to jail and be in prison because we have an administration that has threatened to jail politicians and indeed has done so in Milwaukee, if you remember that, and has threatened to jail a governor. I'm just a simple public servant. That's all I am. That's all I am. I'm just a simple public servant, but I'm going to do the right thing for the people in Seattle.
Put him up full mask. No, sir. You're way more than that. You're way more than a simple public servant. You are a champion of public service, and we thank you. That was the Seattle Police Chief, Mr. Shon Barnes. Chief Barnes rebuked the tactics being used by the Trump administration in regards to immigration raids and how they have treated protesters. But he, along with other leaders, should be alarmed. Trump ordered ICE officials to execute the, quote, largest mass deportation program in history, end quote, in a clear escalation of his aggressive immigration agenda, setting up likely clashes with Democratic-run cities, many of them led by black mayors, which is exactly what I told you Trump wanted. This is what he wants. In a Truth Social post published Sunday night, Trump, whose controversial policies ignited thousands of protests over the weekend as he held an unprecedented military parade on his birthday, instructed federal officers to, quote, do all in their power to carry out mass deportation agenda, which reportedly includes a plan to arrest 3,000 undocumented individuals a day with a goal of 1 million deportations in a year. Now, remember, for those who voted for Trump because you liked his rhetoric while he was running for president, the rhetoric of him engaging in this mass deportation. Remember, he told you that he was going after the most dangerous. He was going after the criminals, but that's not what he's doing. He's going after quota. And that quota includes rounding up day laborers from Home Depot, rounding up day laborers from other areas that are known to have them. This is his way. Locking up college students so that there's significant publicity. Social media influencers who literally have never spoken a word against the United States. This is what he's doing. Now, why is he doing this? Well, because, see, the quota is more important to him than the promise. He made you a promise, if you're down with this rhetoric, that he was going after the violent criminals. Now, since he's not going after the violent criminals, there's no emphasis on violent criminals. The emphasis is on the individuals who actually are here working. Now, this has created an issue in labor markets, which means Trump will sign an executive action likely to moderate it. But there is no focus. Now he wants to clash with local law enforcement. But wait a minute, I thought Republicans liked local control and local law enforcement and local people being able to do it their local way. The president said that to achieve his goal, the government would have to, quote, expand efforts in America's, quote, largest cities, specifically naming Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. Trump said, quote, millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside in the nation's big cities, many of which are led by Black mayors. Quote, these radical left Democrats are sick of mind, hate our country, and actually want to destroy our inner cities. They are doing a good job of it, end quote, said Trump. Now, what is Trump doing? It's the same play. It's the same rhetoric. Same rhetoric they used against President Obama. This is why the run-of-the-mill Republican is to blame for this as well. They told you the same thing about President Obama. He wanted to destroy America. He was against you. And somehow, if you continued to support him, the destruction of America was at hand. All of these were lies. But the same lies are now being told against Democratic mayors, against police chiefs who decide to uphold law and constitution, and communities of color. In his Sunday Truth Social post, Trump also justified his targeting of Democratic-run cities by accusing Democrats of using, quote, illegal aliens as a, quote, Democratic power center to, quote, expand their voter base, cheat in elections, and grow the welfare state, robbing good-paying jobs and benefits from hardworking American citizens. All lies, all rhetoric, and all without the benefit of a fact check. Trump is doubling down on what will inevitably be a political and legal battle with the nation's top Black mayors, likely also law enforcement, as already taking place in Los Angeles, where Trump has deployed the National Guard and U.S. Marines. LA Mayor Karen Bass has slammed the executive action as unnecessary and intentionally provoking chaos in the city, which is majority Black and brown. California Governor Newsom filed a lawsuit seeking to have the National Guard removed from the city, and the National Guard should be under control of the governor of California. But for some reason, federal courts did not return command back to the governor as they should. They basically created a stay or an injunction. However, they did not restore things as they were. That's typically the reason the court will get involved and restore things as they were until they can look at the evidence at hand. What they did is they allowed Trump to remain in command, even though it is completely abnormal to the normative process. All right, Jackson, there's a lot here. Obviously, the country is completely upside down. Trump is running amok, and I don't think anyone in MAGA can say any of this is making America great again for them or anybody they know.
No, and one of the issues too that the right-wing propaganda machine has is there's nothing really for them to gripe and complain about that isn't ultimately going to point back to Trump, because, again, as the economy crashes and the world flips on its head, he's in power. You can't blame Biden, you can't blame Kamala. You can say this and that about the Democrats, but when people can't afford nothing, that's just not gonna go anywhere. One of the things that I've been encouraged about is, whether it's brothers like this, or even, people like Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, and all the millions of people around the country who showed out for No King's Day, and just, looking at polling numbers and approval and, just really just kind of paying attention to the daily data. Americans really aren't happy with Donald Trump, even though he won this go round. That doesn't mean he's popular. We know he doesn't have a mandate, and he's never been popular, but the Democratic candidates haven't been overwhelmingly popular either. So This is a situation that we're in. But at the end of the day, like Donald Trump is really just throwing fits about reality that people don't like him, because people protesting is their, that's their First Amendment right. They're not causing any trouble. And also, look how many people didn't show up to Trump's, fourth grade, 4-year-old military parade that he had.
Right.
So I think there's some good signs that, you know, we can trust each other going forward.
Yeah, we shall see. All right. We got more on the other side. Indisputable. Stick and stay.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT.
The place is like 95% TYT on.
Favorite channel, we're getting that message out.
Frank and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
People who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning, they seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. A lot of comments. I will read as many as I can. Over 9,000 into the Dragon says, Doc and Jackson, dynamic duo. We thank you. I agree with you. And Jojo_Dragon, the police chief should be our president. That's right. And hopefully what he has done will instill courage in other members of law enforcement not to go with this madness. Queen Gigi from GI, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon back to you. Thank you for joining the show. And Mr. Mittler, if he was acting in an official capacity, they would have had their lights on, sue them both. Yeah, and that's the ridiculousness of Georgia law. Avenger Dragon 89, same thing. How was he acting in his official capacity? Because Georgia law goes out of the way to qualify a cop not acting in his official capacity, but on duty to be official capacity. All right, I got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
A MAGA Karen brings a gun to a peaceful protest, gets instant karma. Put up the picture full mass. Once again, these are your criminals. These are your violent thugs. These are the ones, if anyone should be deported, that one. MAGA Karen brings a gun to protest, gets karma. Agitator tried to go for her gun at a peaceful protest. She's then thrown to the ground and allegedly arrested. We have some details. On Saturday, June 14th, Brandon Martin was working as a volunteer security guard for the Pueblo No Kings rally. He says he was helping to maintain the peace with the protesters, communicating any issues to the police, and overall being another cog in the wheel of support for law enforcement to ensure things ran smoothly. Quote, I saw this woman, and she had a Trump hat on a camel one, as she said, she was yelling and kind of, just trying to get through the crowd. Martin tells KRDO 13 News. As soon as he saw her grab the gun, that is when he grabbed her. He took the woman to the ground on a platform in the Sister Cities Plaza in Pueblo. Martin explained that there was a group of elderly ladies in the area. And that's when his mind went in the moments leading up to the tackle. Martin took the woman to the ground while he says another volunteer security guard helped to secure the firearm. Quote, it takes all of us to make sure we have a safe town and safe community. So if this is my bid I have to do right now, then I'm more than happy to do it until the professionals can get here, shared Martin. The local police did arrest the woman. They tell KRDO 13 News she did have a firearm with her at the time of the arrest. One other person was arrested at the protest for a separate incident. Police say neither party was involved in the rally. Let's expand the conversation for a moment. I'm thankful that nobody was harmed. I'm thankful that nobody was hurt. Why did this person have a gun at a peaceful protest? Second question, why are they reaching for it? If it had not been for the quick thinking of a security officer who's operating in good faith, wanting to be a true advocate for the community and protect the integrity of the protest, if it had not been for that person, would this be the second shooting that we would have been talking about? Politically motivated? Jackson, the rhetoric, we used to call it radicalization, when people would take rhetoric from political leaders and then transfer that rhetoric or translate that rhetoric into actual violence against people. All of a sudden, we don't call it a terrorist attack anymore. We call that a MAGA supporter.
Right, a MAGA supporter who was just kind of there, doing their thing. And they'll just gloss over it like nothing happened whatsoever. When first and foremost, this is a result of Trump's, decade plus long campaign of rage and misery, that people are showing up thinking that they have the right to do this to stop what, people standing up to Trump, because it's a cult. You know what I mean? Like that's all it's about. Like people are outside in the streets opposing Trump. How dare they? I'm going to go and I'm going to shoot somebody. Like, that just alludes to that just too many people have guns in this country. Like think about how much you're not thinking, I'm gonna go to this protest and shoot someone, and then what? Have you thought beyond that? But probably not, because this person, not only do they have the MAGA hat on, they got the camo underneath it. I heard you laugh at that. When you read that, I had to double back too. I was like, oh, they for real, they not playing. You see that, they probably got all types of pistols on them. But yeah, it's unfortunate. And at the end of the day, even though this is a Wish a Karen Wood segment, this really isn't funny at all.
Right.
And that we can expect more of it as people continue to protest.
Yeah. But local law enforcement and local DAs, local prosecutors, state AGs should make examples out of individuals like they have historically made examples out of 17-year-old children who make dumb mistakes. And they'll get on a podium, hold a press conference against a black child that happens to be affiliated with a gang and say they're going to make an example out of them. But when it comes to a white adult who actually is in a gang, all of a sudden, well, prosecution becomes light. All right, well, let's go to Utah. In Utah, shots fired at a No Kings protest in Utah, nationwide protest happening across the country at that time. Here it is.
One person was critically injured after a shooting at the No Kings March in downtown Salt Lake City late Saturday. Salt Lake City police say they have taken 3 people into custody, and one of them also has a gunshot wound. Salt Lake Tribune journalists saw an injured man collapsed on State Street with emergency responders providing care. Another person was seen being loaded onto a stretcher by Salt Lake City Fire. He appeared to be the same man officers had handcuffed.
Put it up full mask. Thousands of protesters over the weekend took to the streets of U.S. cities. They took to U.S. towns. They coordinated what's called the No Kings events, billed as a national day of peaceful protest. It was the largest day of opposition to Trump since his return to office this year. According to a report from the Salt Lake Tribune, police believe the shooting involved 4 people, including a man who was shot himself. The shooting is currently under investigation. I will give you the background. A man who was believed to be part of a peacekeeping team for the No Kings protest in Salt Lake City shot a person who was brandishing a rifle at demonstrators, striking both the rifleman and a bystander, who later died at the hospital, according to the authorities on Sunday. Police took the alleged rifleman, Arturo Gamboa, 24, into custody Saturday evening on a murder charge. Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd said at a Sunday news conference, the bystander was Arthur Falasa Alu, 39, and a fashion designer from Samoa. Detectives don't know why Gamboa pulled out a rifle. They don't know why pulled out a rifle, don't know why he ran from the peacekeepers, but they accused him of creating the dangerous situation that led to Alu's death. The Associated Press, the AP, did not immediately find an attorney listed for Gamboa or contact information for his family in public records. Red said the man believed to be part of the peacekeeping team, dressed in a neon green vest, fired 3 shots from a handgun at Gamboa. That is your perceived threat, inflicting a relatively minor injury but fatally shooting Alu. Red did not share the man's name. In Virginia police records, a man who intentionally accelerated into protest No Kings as a protest wound. As the protest wound down in Virginia, a man intentionally drove an SUV through the crowd of departing pedestrians and struck at least 1 person in the parking lot, police said in a statement on social media. The Culpeper Police Department identified the driver as the 21-year-old Joseph R. Cheklik that you see right there. LAPD officer went ballistic on an ABC reporter at a protest in Los Angeles. Here it is.
No, I didn't. You're on TV, and now you're pushing me on live television. All right, we didn't touch anybody. You know that's true. You're okay. Thank you. I got it. So you can see, obviously, tensions are extremely high here.
Yes, because you touched the officer. Don't touch the officer.
We have video testimony. Nobody touched an officer. Okay. Obviously, massively high tensions here. These folks are tired. They are also hot. It's a long day, and it's been a long week. We clearly didn't touch the officers. You're on live television, sir.
Yes, you did.
If, sir, if an officer would have been inappropriately touched. I mean, my goodness, you all are. If a cop was touched unwanted, that is a crime. So go ahead and lock him up. I didn't see you arrest him. Well, shut the hell up then. Right. Because if you don't arrest him after, according to you, there's physical contact adverse to a cop. I mean, what are you doing? Right? It's rhetoric. An aggressive officer in Spokane, Washington is being called out after this video has gone viral. Here it is. Put it up. This is America right now. This is America. As a MSNBC reporter in LA claimed, quote, I think it was sheriffs deploying CS gas, tear gas, pepper spray, and flashbang grenades in large numbers, mounted units pushing against protesters. Every single gathering I saw today was 100% peaceful, end quote. U.S. Marines carry out first known detention of civilian in Los Angeles. This is unconstitutional. Hours after their highly anticipated arrival, Los Angeles, U.S. Marines were seen detaining a man next to the federal building in Westwood on Friday evening. The former Army combat engineer said he was on his way to Veterans Affairs when he noticed the Marines telling him to stop. Quote, of course, I complied when I crossed the first checkpoint and they told me to get on the ground. Meanwhile, the veteran responds to the scenes of soldiers' lack of enthusiasm. They had to participate in this weekend's Trump parade. Here it is.
As someone who has had to be a participant of forced participation, I know malicious compliance when I see it. When I saw the images of that horrendous parade, my fellow veterans did me so proud, so proud. Marching off step, chef's kiss, because there have been times the squeaky tank. Oh, love it. Yes. Malicious compliance. But there have been numerous times where I have been forced to participate. An example, Dick Cheney came to our base one year. They made 5 of us sit directly behind him. I mean, they went through a lot of work to rearrange us just so our little black faces would be right behind Dick Cheney. And on the 5 o'clock news, my face.
Put it up. So, yes, the soldiers, they don't want to do this. This is not in the culture of Constitution. This is not in the culture of a democracy. It is not in the culture of checks and balances. It is not in the culture of the military. But Donald Trump taking a playbook out of the era of Hitler has now decided to do what all of us would have deemed to be insane just a few years ago. Imagine President Barack Obama supposing he wanted this. If he even said it, if he uttered it during an interview, it would have been lights out for his political career. Not because of Republicans, but because of Democrats. We would not have stood for it. All right, Jackson, thoughts here?
Yeah, all I did really was read about the parade. I hadn't zeroed in that the tank was squeaky and stuff like that. Like, how enigmatic is that of the Trump administration as a whole and America right now? But at the end of the day, like you look at footage of Los Angeles and people are riding around because the narrative is that the streets are on fire and everyone's rioting and we have to send the troops in. And then people are riding around showing everybody just kind of not outside, chilling, going about their lives, doing their own thing. At the end of the day, like the right wing has pushed themselves so far, all they have left is let's attack our fellow Americans. We have to send the troops into these blue cities and we have to quell them because like what else do they really have to discuss at this point? Because again, none of the real everyday problems that people are facing, who can you blame that on but Trump? So now all they have left is send the troops in and shut everybody up, and which is scary and not a good position to be in. But at the end of the day, and I've said this before on this program, you can't take over the whole country. America's too big and complex and there's too much going on. So like his attempt to be the dictator of this whole place was always going to fail from the jump. Not that a lot of damage can't be done and that it isn't being done, but he can't ultimately achieve his goal. And that's why the rickety tank and people marching off beat is really symbolic of that this dude is a loser and a failure.
Yeah, and once again, poorly attended. That really hurts him.
Right.
All right, we got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay.
There's one reason why healthcare is so messed up in this country, and that's because of our money in politics situation. Because those industries that are deeply corrupt can just simply purchase all of Congress. And then the problem never gets fixed because of that bribery. Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's greed, and it's the greed of politicians, right? I mean, so everything they do is dictated by the donors and the money. I mean, I shouldn't say that, not everything. A lot of what they do is, and I do think that there are people who do things in spite of the fact that they have to raise money and often don't get that money and often don't win because they don't, but are in there fighting for ideals that they believe in. Bernie Sanders is certainly an example of someone like that.
I'm back to gaslighting. Did you and I talk about gaslighting on Old School?
Probably.
That boss gaslit all his female employees. People who manipulate others like that make you feel like you're the weirdo. Why won't you punch yourself in the face? What is wrong with you? And you're like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Why didn't I just punch myself in the face and poke my eye out? I'm 47 and I just figured it out like earlier this year.
You figured out somebody was doing it to you, or that you were
that it was that it would have been happening my whole life and I didn't realize it.
Right.
You want to know the 3 shows that I'm watching lately? Shogun, Anjin-san. Those guys are badasses. Then you go to the Duttons, Yellowstone. Now they don't always do it right, but they are badasses. But the 3rd show has the biggest badasses of all, the Young Turks. Live every weekend. Sick that I was so good. God damn it. Okay, live. Weekdays at 6 o'clock Eastern. That's what I meant. Anjin-san.
How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. Mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it, and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Got a lot of comments. We'll read as many as I can. Winter Scoop says, as a Marine veteran, I understand that marching out of step, perfect malicious compliance. Winter Scoop, Karen would have claimed she was acting in self-defense when she killed a few protesters, and Trump would have pardoned her. Yep, you too. All right. Jumbo Jack, I bet cops search every protester's backpacks, but Karen manages to bring a Magnum 45. Yeah. Spirit X Black Boss B of the Bayou. So how does the weapon help your political point? See, the weapon is their political point. They don't really get it yet, but carnage and warfare, violence and destruction, colonization comes. This is their point. They were never Christian evangelical conservatives in this traditional understanding of it. They are about power. Flutterby _dragon. I wonder if all dictators have it so quiet during their parades. Yeah. And Love 18 White Girl, this Karen went to the protest to try to take out the leaders of the protest. Yes, some fast-acting individuals may have stopped that. All right, here's an update. Trump tells ABC News he's mulling over attacking Iran. Yep, mulling over it. We're going to think about it, get back to you. Let's do this. Let's go to the video with Benjamin Netanyahu. Here it is.
These people who chant death to America, tried to assassinate President Trump twice, killed 241 of your Marines in Beirut, killed and injured thousands of American soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq, tried to bomb a restaurant in Washington, D.C., chant death to America, burn the American flag. Do you want these people to have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to your cities? Of course not.
Yeah.
So we're defending ourselves, but we're also defending the world.
I want to talk about the nuclear threat. I want to talk about President Trump. You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their intel, yes. They want to kill him. Look, he's enemy number one. Look, they also tried to kill me, but I'm his junior partner.
When did
they
you
understand that President Trump is a great threat to Iran's plans to weaponize nuclear weapons and use them?
If it wasn't so obvious, the lies they tell. Oh, yeah, plenty of evidence. Yes, yeah. Evidence galore. Great intelligence over here. All right? Put it up full mass. Let me explain what's really happening. So Donald Trump said Sunday, the United States is not involved in Israel's military strikes against Iran, but, quote, he says it's possible we could get involved, end quote. That comes after reports that Israel had urged the U.S. to join the conflict with Iran to eliminate its nuclear program. In an interview with ABC News, Rachel Scott, Trump declined to comment on whether Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a personal plea for the U.S. to get more involved. However, outlandish claims you just heard were made on Fox News. In terms of that claim, the Biden DOJ in November charged an Iranian operative named Farhad Shakiri in a plot to assassinate Trump, which was unrelated to the two assassination attempts the president faced in 2024. U.S. officials at the time said they did not believe there was a link between Iran and the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania, or the man who waited outside Trump's golf course in Florida with a semi-automatic rifle. Trump, during a speech in September, suggested Iran was involved in both of those incidents. Obviously, Iran and the Iran president, they have denied his government was involved in any plot to kill Trump. That's not to say that Israel's military is above using such tactics. Here it is.
And we can now answer a question that you put to Benjamin Netanyahu that he punted on. A U.S. official is telling us just in the last few minutes since your interview concluded that President Trump did, in fact, in the last couple of days, nix a plan that the Israelis were putting together to assassinate the supreme leader of Iran. So we can put a bow on that.
This is now really interesting, isn't it? All right. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Republican strategist, CNN commentator Scott Jennings on Sunday called on President Donald Trump to launch a military strike against Iran's Fordo nuclear facility, urging or arguing that the move would secure peace and merit a Nobel Peace Prize for bombing, which that doesn't exist. Scott. Put Scott back up, man. So Scott is acting delirious, which means he sounds even more insane than usual. His coherence is not quite there. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Scott Jennings is actually stuck in Tel Aviv due to the military missile attacks between Iran and Israel. Jennings had embarked on a trip to the region. Okay, he signed up for this. His first to tour major cities like Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, as well as cities where approximately 1/4 of its 400 residents were killed by Hamas in October 2023, those attacks, as well as the site of the Nova Music Festival massacre, where 378 were killed. So Scott decided to go there, okay? He wanted to make a big point, make a big play. On Friday night, Jennings was under orders not to leave his hotel should they need to seek refuge in a bomb shelter. Jennings has no idea how long he'll have to stay at the hotel or when he will depart Israel. Quote, airspace is closed. Airports are closed. He says, quote, the thing we know the least about is how are we going to get out of here? We were supposed to leave tomorrow, but that doesn't feel like it's happening. No, Scott, it's not happening, okay? Now, here's the thing. Take what you're going through, multiplied, magnified by roughly 1 million, and you may have an understanding of what a Palestinian child experiences every hour. Possibly. Look at you, man. Put Scott back up. On American television, from your cushy job on CNN, you pontificate against individuals who are being slaughtered and killed and don't know when a bomb is going to drop on their head or not. Now look where you are. Now, I don't advocate for violence, and I definitely don't advocate for vengeance or revenge. I believe the universe has a model called justice. But you have to question whatever God you worship, which I'm sure is white Jesus. You have to question, why did white Jesus put you in this situation, Scott? Asked if he was aware of the presence of Caitlyn Jenner in the country for Tel Aviv's gay pride festivities and similarly stranded. Jennings said, quote, I saw that she was here, and then I saw that the Daily Mail sort of made it seem like we were here together. It was Scott Jennings and Caitlyn Jenner stuck in Israel. We're both stuck here, he added with a chuckle, but not together. That's right, Scott. That's what people are, that's what you should be concerned about. Who you stuck there with, what people are going to say, you know, what the Republicans will think of you. These cats are so silly. All right, Jackson, thoughts here.
Imagine how great and cushy of a job it would be to just have a smirk on your face and say really stupid things and get paid. You know what I'm saying? Just get paid. You know what I'm saying? But But on the one hand, I mean, let's be serious. We all know that during Obama's terms in office, he put forth the Iran nuclear agreement that Iran was following. Because overall, the world doesn't want nuclear war. So the idea that we have to go to war with Iran in order to protect everyone just because Netanyahu's saying it. Keep in mind, everyone knows Netanyahu is a paranoid psychopath. And I think one of the key things that he said was, everyone knows I'm Trump's junior partner. So again, yeah, Trump's just gonna go wherever Netanyahu says. And when he's saying over and over again that, hey, we got this plot about Trump's assassination, he's just baiting Trump into doing something. Whether he's trying to make Trump scared for his life, or he just thinks that, Trump, you're not gonna let this slide, or you can't let the American people see you be and Trump is an idiot. He just did the military parade. He thrives off of looking tough, even though he isn't Mr. Bone Spurs. But it's really just an unfortunate situation that a lot of people saw coming because the Republican Party and the military-industrial complex at large has long wanted to go to war with Iran.
Yep, and what Iran needs to do is purchase Donald Trump an airplane.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
turn it all around.
Turn the whole thing around. Yep. All right, we got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe in it. And I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
Here I am, Nancy Pelosi, saying this country needs a strong Republican Party, and we do.
No one is representing what I call the silent majority, which is about 2/3 of this country, indisputably progressive.
But now we say the time has come for regime change in American television.
The Young Turks Network.
You have the Young Turks saying this is the time to fight for our values.
Young Turks is the oldest left media institution I believe that there is. Real front runner in the online media space.
You guys might know us.
Biggest online left of center outlet that exists.
All of you know the Young Turks.
People from this district heard about Justice Democrats by watching your show.
Thanks to the Young Turks for covering Trayvon Martin's case early on when few people were covered.
They don't stop, I won't stop. Racism won't stop, so I won't stop.
Species are at risk of going extinct. Major media outlets did not dedicate much time at all to that.
We reached a whole heap of people with our progressive message.
We're not the Young Turks, you're the Young Turks.
That 300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day we looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 25 billion lifetime views.
Damn.
Too strong, way too strong. That's 25 billion times someone watched the progressive message delivered to people all over the world. You know who helped to do that? You guys did. Our members and our audience are amazing, and they helped us to reach 2 generations, both millennials and Gen Z. They're both super progressive. And I gotta tell you, we're just getting started. Thank you. All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Billy D. Taylor. What do you know? Billy says, rejoice, her dragon daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, welcome back. Got a lot of comments, we'll read them. I'm going with capsized drag, and Netanyahu has been making the Iran will have a bomb in 2 weeks argument for 30 years. Damn right, along with his cronies, which includes Republicans. And Kimmy Koo says, you know, kings went to battle with their armies. Is he going to the front lines? No, he has the bone issue, you know. He would. Yeah, love 18 white girl. Both Trump assassination attempts were done by right wingers. WTF is Netanyahu talking about? And yeah, technology-aided, trying to pull a Rittenhouse with a small gun. Talking about that particular Karen. All right, well, here we go. A white woman falsely accused two innocent black men. White woman gets arrested. Now that's a twist. Put it a full mass. In Michigan, the St. John's police on Thursday arrested a 20-year-old woman who 3 days earlier claimed that she was the victim of an attack on a popular walking trail, the Lansing State Journal reports. Madison McKenzie Wright faces 2 felony charges of false report of a felony. That's what I'm talking about. We've been talking about this since day one on Indisputable. This is according to the St. John's Police Department, who determined her story, quote, did not align with evidence accumulated to substantiate her statements. Wright's bond was set at $5,000, which is too low in my opinion. Wright told police, I want you to hear this story. Wright told the police she was walking by herself on the Fred Major Clinton trail just after midnight on Monday, okay? This is late Monday, quote, when she was confronted by 2 male subjects who approached her from a wooded area north of the trail, end quote. Wright said the men tried to grab her and added that one slashed at her with a pocket knife. This is quite an inventive story. She described the men as 6 foot tall. They were thin, wearing a black hooded sweatshirt or sweatshirts, black pants, and they had black skin. Everything is black, 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 and black. Wright reported the attack 12 minutes after she alleged it happened. In a statement, St. John's Police said the officers searched the area at 1:05 a.m. About 45 minutes after Wright claimed the incident occurred, they found no one. A follow-up investigation confirmed Wright had not been truthful, said police, who warned the public against believing everything they read on social media. Isn't that something? The irony of this. ladies and gentlemen, I would say this is actually a bright moment. This is light at the end of the tunnel. This is an opportunity for us to actually celebrate an investigation taking place, a proper investigation, where the words of an individual who decided to utilize this fantasy story in order to incriminate two black men was investigated and thoroughly investigated. Here's a statement from the St. John's Police. The St. John's Police Department would like to assure the community that the safety of the city is a fundamental priority. The inaccurate and speculative social media post related to this incident resulted in significant concerns for the community. The department urges residents to rely on information issued by the department, which will be distributed in a timely and situationally appropriate manner. Police added extra patrols to the trail after Wright's claims. The next day, a woman posted on Facebook that her niece's friends had been attacked by 3 guys with knives and, quote, was lucky and got away, but was beat up and very traumatized. The post caused plenty of angst and some accusations that St. John's Police weren't keeping the public properly informed. Now, obviously, we're going to bring some updates to this story because the woman who the police have determined made a false allegation, usually that means they have damning evidence like possibly a video or recording that this did not happen. Her case has to be adjudicated. And so in that adjudication, we will follow it to make sure we know exactly what her motive was and what her, let's just say, contrary information that came out of this story. All right, Jackson, this is rare for a police department to come out and say, hey, listen, actually, we investigated. There's nothing here, and the information is inaccurate. And then they charge the person with the right charge, making a false felony report. What say you?
Yeah, and I think that's why it's extra important that we highlight this so that we can spread the word that you might get in trouble for doing things like this. Because on the one hand, you know, the fact that she thought that she could get away with falsely accusing 2 black men because they're black and black people do this type of stuff, you know, that says a lot about the culture, but also the privilege. But in addition, I agree that the bail wasn't set high enough because everything would have been cool if their lives had been ruined or if someone else's lives had been ruined, but not hers. So, you know, just the fact that, so, you know, you got to face a little bit of consequences because it's pretty messed up to do something like that to somebody. This goes beyond like, I stole a little bit of money from someone, or maybe you broke, whatever it is, like, yeah. You could actually get people in prison for things like this. So that would have been cool. So it was just pretty lame through and through. And I'm glad that she got caught.
Yeah, and it's calculated and malicious. It's the reason why we feel that bond is set too low when you go out of your way to commit such a ridiculous and, yes, life-shattering crime against another human being. All right, we got more on the other side of Indisputable. Stick and stay.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT. The place is like 95% TYT on.
You guys, the Young Turks, which is my favorite channel, we're getting that message out.
Frank and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
The people who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning, they seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Let me read a few comments. Yeah. All right, so manual.e2n4w. I heard there was a case last Saturday where protesters disarmed someone who put a gun at it. Yep. That's right. That's right. Yep. And thank you for that. And a third, Love AT White Girl, 2 shout outs by Doc. How lucky am I today? Now 3. There you go. Very lucky. Play the lottery, please. All right. Well, singer defies Dodgers' wishes and sings the national anthem in Spanish. Here it is.
Okay, it's okay. We are going to do the song in English today, so I'm not sure if that wasn't if that wasn't relayed.
Anyways, I just got home from singing the national anthem in Spanish at the Dodgers game, and it is the official Star Spangled Banner in Spanish. You can Google it. So I'll just read it to you really quick, but it was officially commissioned in 1945 by the U.S. State Department as a part of President Franklin Roosevelt's Good Neighbor policy to foster a better relationship with Latin America. Because of this, I didn't think I would be met with any sort of no. Especially because we're in LA and with everything happening. And I've sang the national anthem many times in my life, but there was today out of all days. I could not. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just could not believe when she walked in and told me no. But I just felt like I needed to do it. Para mi gente. I'm proud of myself for doing that today. Because my parents are immigrants and they've been citizens my whole life at this point. They got documented really early, but I just can't imagine them being ripped away from me. Even at this age, let alone a little kid. What are we doing?
Put up the picture full of my ass. Dear sister, we live in a world where people put more emphasis on the physical flag and what language you sing the song in than what the flag is supposed to stand for and what the words in the song actually mean. You demonstrated what the song means. You are brave. You are free. and you demonstrate what the flag should stand for, which is a unified nation. You have nothing to cry about. Proud of you. Put a picture back up. Let's talk about her. This was Neza, a Latin pop singer of Colombian Dominican origin. Grew up in the Bay Area of California, was invited to perform the U.S. national anthem at this weekend's Dodgers versus Giants game at Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles. Instead of singing in English, she was apparently instructed, instructed to do, she decided to perform a Spanish language rendition of the national anthem in protest of ICE's actions against the Latinx community. See, this is another cause and effect dynamic. That's all. It's a cause and effect dynamic. You cannot expect this kind of energy against people to come from the government that many of us are paid, many of us are paying to be oppressed by. You can't expect no energy to be returned to you. At least it's peaceful. All right, Jackson, thoughts?
Well, it's not just petty, but it's also like incredibly nosy when people get mad because they can't understand another language. To be like, I want to be in everyone's business. These people are speaking Spanish around me. This is America. I'm not supposed to have to deal with this. Like, dang, you ain't got no bigger problems than that to be upset about. A lot of these people don't, though. Not for real, you know. Maybe they stubbed their toe this morning. Maybe they dealing with everyday things that everyone deals with, like sickness and family issues and getting broken up with and stuff like that. That's just kind of the human experience, you know. It's not like you're not getting done wrong by society because of that. So they just bored and they griping and whining and complaining because they can't eavesdrop on everybody's conversations. That's really all it is.
Yeah, there you go. All right, brother. Always good to have you on the show. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Oh, yeah. Y'all can check me out at Politics and Paper on YouTube. And just stay tuned. I got a pretty big documentary about the St. Louis tornado that I'm getting ready to release. And I got a lot of really good work coming out. So check me out at Politics and Paper on YouTube.
Man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm proud of you, dear brother.
Appreciate you.
All right, remember, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.